Hello, welcome to Armchair Sports Talk Football. And today we're talking about the AFC West. This is a 10-minute topic on the AFC West, going from the bottom to the top. Going to go over win totals for each team, figure out which way they fall on those win total projections, and we'll take a look at least one player on each team. So we'll get started right now. The Oakland Raiders, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders, have a 6.5 game win total. That seems a little high. The Raiders added to their team with some of the first round picks they acquired in Khalil Mack. They have a few more first round picks to go, in my opinion, and I think they'll get there. They did bring in Antonio Brown. I do think that he brings a nice level of excitement. And getting prepared for his move to Las Vegas, you want to make sure that every single seat is filled because the Las Vegas customer will be paying more than the average customer at other NFL stadiums. The 6.5 game win total, of course, under. They do have some nice pieces to watch, though, in addition to Antonio Brown on the receiving core. There's Terrell Williams. After that, it gets very thin very quickly. Terrell Williams is going to be the number 2, and if you remember in Pittsburgh, the number 2 opposite Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Martavis Bryant for a while, they were able to find some success. So I do think the attention that Antonio Brown will draw will make it easier for Tyrell the Gazelle Williams. He's a 6'3", long strides, allow him to get down the field. He can work the middle routes as he kind of operated out of the slot a lot when he was with the Chargers. So I do like Terrell Williams with the Raiders. The next team up is the Broncos. They're projected for 7 wins. I could easily see them sneaking in 9 here. I don't say this too often, but sometimes these 6 and 7 game win totals, I am usually on the side of that's right on mark, or that they're going to go a little under. But the Broncos, I think, are going to be like the Ravens of the West. They have a good defense, and of course, Joe Flacco. So I think Joe Flacco is going to bring a little bit of that toughness. We don't really think about that with Joe Flacco, but he has started a large number of the games. He does not tend to get injured too often, and I do think he is a step up from Case Keenum. So the injury to Emmanuel Sanders did not hold him back as much as we thought. We saw him in some preseason action, and he looked really good. So Emmanuel Sanders is going to make sure that Cortland Sutton is able to do his thing on the other side, and they just have some young wide receiver talent in addition to their veteran presence. They have good running backs between Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, even to the point where they invested in a rather high draft pick for Devontae Booker, and they're considering cutting him, parting ways. So they have some depth there in the backfield. That should allow the wear on the running backs to be minimal. And I don't see any reason why they can't compete. And for more on that, the reason is because the Chargers, I think, are a little overvalued. Their 9.5 game win total seems a little high. Melvin Gordon is still holding out, and just knowing the way the Chargers operate, I don't see where that is scheduled to end. So we're talking week 4, week 10, somewhere in the season where Melvin Gordon may come back just to make sure he gets his paycheck or as much of it as he can. And I don't think that's a recipe for fantasy success. So we're not going to look at Melvin Gordon to get those fantasy stats this season, and we're also not going to bet money on the total win total for the Chargers, at least not on the over side. So I think they're going to be a 7 and 9 team. I think that 9.5 game win total is really on the high side. They do have, Phillip Rivers, unfortunately, towards the end of his career. They're going to need some significant changes because I just don't think this is the year they get over the hump. I think they actually take a step backwards after the throttling they got from the Patriots in the AFC semifinals or divisional round. And the player to watch is going to be Hunter Henry. I do think that they should be throwing a little bit more. They're going to have to be creative. I think Keenan Allen's pretty good, but he doesn't really strike fear into opposing defenses. I don't think they have to game plan for him any more spectacularly than any other slightly above average wide receiver. And they lost Terrell Williams, as I mentioned earlier, to the Raiders. Mike Williams has stepped up, so he is a nice wide receiving option for them. But they just kind of have like a just slightly above average mix here and there, and slightly above average at just about every position unless you're running back. I think that's a good recipe to be right around 7 and 9, 8 and 8. So let's go under the 9.5. And I don't say this much, but the defense is pretty good. So that's the reason why they'll probably be in those games. Is I think Phillip Rivers' age is going to catch up with them, and they just lost some of that talent. That leads us to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are as popular as they could ever be, and why shouldn't they? They have Patrick Mahomes. He's throwing balls sidearm, no-look passes, just like truly stuff that you didn't think you'd see. He's like if the Harlem Globetrotters played football, and he was their best player. So very excited to see what they do. Their projected win total is 10.5 games. I think they could go over that, probably 11 or 12, almost, rather easily. They showed where Kareem Hunt wasn't as important to their team as one might have thought. So Damian Williams steps in, and he played very well in the playoffs, and he has first opportunity. Some people are concerned, I guess, a little bit of injury here. He's not necessarily the youngest running back in the league, and he's never been the workhorse running back before. But I think he really showed us that he's capable of handling it, and barring additional injury setback, I would like to see him produce. But he's not going to be the guy I go to. A lot of people have forgotten about Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is a very highly skilled wide receiver. He actually played pretty well with the Rams, and he played pretty well with the Chiefs as well. He just has an injury history. Right now he's healthy, so knock on wood, that continues. If he's healthy the whole season, it wouldn't surprise me if he's comfortably able to get over 1,000 yards. We've seen where Tyreek Hill isn't necessarily the most consistent with his off-field behavior. So if something were to happen to him, and Sammy Watkins is now the number one option, that's worth factoring in when you do your fantasy drafts or your daily fantasy lineups. Sammy Watkins is my player to watch on the Chiefs. So the AFC West, it's not really that much of an exciting division for me. Broncos are kind of a boring team, but I think they're going to win those boring games the way the Ravens did and get in the playoffs. So that would be kind of my upset. I think that the Broncos have an outside chance of sneaking into the playoffs. And the Chargers will probably be on the outside looking in. So as I look over, I'm just trying to make sure I haven't missed anything. All the usual suspects on the Chiefs, though. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I acknowledge, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I will say the Chiefs have a tough Week 1 matchup. I think Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Bouye, the corners for the Jaguars, are going to make things a little difficult. So look for Travis Kelce and Damian Williams to have bigger games, and maybe Mahomes with a rushing touchdown. Because you can just look back a couple weeks or last season when these two teams played. And I think that's exactly what happened was Mahomes did not have a passing touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown over 300 yards, and Kareem Hunt had 2 rushing touchdowns. So that's my prediction for what happens in Week 1 is the Chiefs win, but it's going to be slightly unconventional. And that's pretty much my summary on the AFC West. Hope you guys enjoy watching some football here soon. Thanks for watching Armchair Sports, and we look forward to hearing and working with you soon.